story from the NFL. It's an interesting one. Um, it is the NFL is pledging to halt their race norming review of black claims. And this has to do with the $1 billion settlement that is being distributed amongst
Ugh.
players who have suffered concussions and permanent brain damage as a result of playing the sport. The payouts to black players was reduced because the NFL, their algorithm assumed a lower level of cognitive ability from these black NFL players from the jump. So it automatically assumed that you had lower cognitive abilities if you were black.
Yep.
And so now they're having to stop this because it has been it was discovered and exposed throughout this lawsuit. You can see a couple
Was it
images.
exposed or was it discovered? I feel like those are two different things, because I mean, I know that, somebody else may have discovered it that never knew about it, but I feel like this has always been a thing. And now these white folks or whoever, because it could be anybody, are exposed in this moment, calling these, NFL players dumb. Like, or can't do anything or whatever the case may be because they're black. That's a problem. But this has probably always been the thing though, right? If we go back in history and we look at how they view our athletes, and they're just good for, there's a big black man, that's all they're good for. No education, no anything, but that's a big black man, and what he can do is throw a ball. That's it.
Well, here's the additional information on this story, right? Because this is a story where the good intention of probably some liberal, love y'all, but yielded the same racist results as what you just described, Rebecca, which is the underlying assumption that black people are just, have lesser cognitive capacity. This was done according to it was done by the NFL for a specific reason that actually they thought they were doing it for a good reason. Right. And it was a way to, let me give you an example. It's almost like instead of addressing the underlying reasons that the SAT and these aptitude tests are inherently racist.
Yeah.
Right. Instead, they might do like a curve system or they might put in an algorithm like the NFL and say that, oh, well, black people just have lower cognitive capacity. So instead of addressing the issues with these tests that assess your cognitive capacity, and because they're rooted, we all know, like the way you're raised, all these things are really based on how you're raised in your environment and what you're exposed to. But instead of addressing the problematic nature of the system, what they do is say, we're going to give black people an advantage by lowering on average what we expect their performance to be.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And this is what the NFL actually did. Now they're in a situation where they have to pay out this money, and all of a sudden they're like, uh-oh, this backfired because now this makes us look hella racist.
Yep.
And see, I mean, instead of addressing the system,
it exposes us as being hella racist.
Exactly.
So, and they can't really run as fast. They can't really think and put their words together.
The quarterbacks can't really, learn the plays.
They don't really know the shapes and the letters, and it's funny because you guys want, and they are a part of why a lot of these players, to me, they're a part of that culture and that idea that black players aren't smart or whatever, because they'll be the players like 15 years old. Like I said, they see a big black boy. They see and they'll go and recruit them and tell the mom, I'll just give you this money if you give me your son, and have him move way across God knows where, live with us and in this whole environment, and shake them up a little bit. And we'll make sure that the teachers just pass them.
Yeah.
That's it. And they don't really have an education. We won't allow them to continue their education because we feel like the ball in their hand is more important. We'll take care of the rest. They are a part of that whole mess too. But that whole idea, I know, there's so many people, even white folks. It goes back to what we were talking about yesterday when it goes to athletes. they own them, right? They feel like they own them and they can do whatever they want with them. So it doesn't, if we want to call them stupid, we can. We own them. If we want to do these tests to recognize that they are, that's fine. Not considering where, and it's only what they believe. Not considering, I don't care if it was a good liberal that may have been behind trying to do this, to do something good, right? Because as we can see, they're not always on the right side of things. And they may be working with those in the NFL to have this particular idea when it comes to our brown and black players. But it also, to me, just makes it, it's just another opportunity for us to realize how racist the NFL is, and how racist it has always been when it comes to our players. And go ahead.
I was looking for this. I was looking for this particular paragraph from the Associated Press, and I found it. It said the binary race norms, when they are used in the testing, assumes that black patients start with worse cognitive functions than whites and other non-blacks. That makes it harder for them to show a deficit and qualify for an award. Henry and Davenport, these are the two players involved in the conversation, for instance, were denied awards, but would have qualified had they been white, according to their lawsuit, which Brody dismissed in March, calling it improper collateral attack on the settlement, and they have appealed the ruling. So it's still like, either way that you look at this, it's hard to look at this and not see the structural, like the inherently racist and structural problems that are at every level of our system, not just in terms of politics, but in terms of even how sports and how the technology and the algorithm that they use to make these assessments automatically assumed a lower cognitive capacity. And to me, it's just like, that is America. That is America in 2021.